So for this section now, in the writing, we're going to be looking at using paragraphs where it's appropriate. So we look at that, and then we'll also look at how to form a paragraph, what sort of details should go into it. So for this, the aims and outcomes of today's lesson are, you should be aware of the logical order of writing. You should be able to use introductions, and you should have some organizational markers when writing. You should also be able to do logical writing when in order. So do you have a logical order, like we said before? You should have developed your paragraphing skills and be aware of and attempt to achieve paragraph cohesion. So make sure that it makes sense and use conclusions within the paragraph. And this could help you to improve your writing and also to help you to be an effective writer. So all the points that we're going to cover today should cover those, help you with your paragraph writing. So let me just go back and see. I know I tried it just now, but let's see if this video will work. No, I think I'm having some issues with my video playing. So please, the two videos that it mentions for you to look at, please go back and have a look at them in your own time. They're only about 3 and 4 minutes long each. So logical order. So when you're writing something, you need to make sense of what your text is or what you're actually doing. So if you start off writing something and the information is all over the place, it can be so confusing. So all texts should have a start, a middle, and an end. So they should be nice and constructed quite clearly. So within level 2, when you're doing your paragraph writing, your paragraph should actually be quite clear and coherent. So they should make sense. They should have all the information in a certain order, which actually flows from one to the other. So we've got a list further here, which will show us the sequence of how we can write. So the sequence is for something like a newspaper article and so on. So you start off with an introductory paragraph. So you get that, you try and hook the reader on. So that introductory paragraph should be nice and interesting and say why you're doing what you're doing and give you a slight overview. Paragraph 2 should say why the development will be good for people. So this is about an article about persuading readers to back a new development, a new building that's being made. Paragraph 3 should say why the development will be good for local business. So you start off saying, oh, get me hooked in. You've written something, I'm reading, I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting. I want to read it. Give me an overview. Second paragraph, why is it good for the local people? Third paragraph, why is it good for the local business? Fourth paragraph, say why people are against the development are wrong. Why are they wrong? Would it bring in more jobs? Would it bring in more opportunities? Will it make your community a lot nicer and clean up an area that was quite being used as a tip? So what are all the reasons? And then your fifth paragraph would be a conclusion. So you're summarizing all the reasons and you're ending with a statement saying you should support this because 1, 2, 3 and summarize your points. So this is how you would set out an article for a newspaper. And then we've got this for logical order. So we've got a, in this here, this is a complaint letter. Now somebody's been to go and play tennis or a racquetball and they've booked a court, which when they went there, they didn't get anything given to them on the time, they got overcharged and so on. And now they're writing a letter of complaint about poor service. Now we've got all of these different points in here. So number 1, you were charged for a racket and ball hire that you didn't use. Number 2, you want the company to reply to you by return. Number 3, the court you had booked on the phone was already being used. Number 4, it took 10 minutes before anyone came to see you at the reception. 5, you visited the tennis centre on the 1st of November. 6, you have a copy of receipt. 7, you want a refund. And 8, you are very disappointed as the service did not live up to your expectations. So if we were to put this into a logical order, because this doesn't make sense on its own. So you would start off with an introduction. Then you would want to develop your ideas. Then you want to say what you want, and then you conclude it. So I've actually used this information and I put it into the order that it should be. So number one, you would start off with saying you visited the centre. So in your paragraph, this is all in one paragraph. You would say that you visited the centre and what date it was. You'd say you have your receipt. Then you'd complain about how long it took for them to see you at the reception, how you would charge for things you didn't use. Then you'd say that when you actually finally got onto the court, it's already been booked and you couldn't go into it straight away. Then you would talk about how you're disappointed, how you want a refund, and how you actually want them to reply to you. So I formulated this into a paragraph. Now, I visited the centre on the 1st of November. I also have a copy of your receipt. It took 10 minutes before anyone came to see me. Change that. At the reception, I was then charged for a racket and ball hire service that I didn't use. To top it all off, the court I booked on the phone was already being used. I am very disappointed with the service. This did not live up to my expectations. I would like a refund and or a reply from your company to be made to me. And that's it. So you've got the same information there, but you've just changed it slightly, got the gist of it there, and you put it into a paragraph. So that is what we'd be looking for. So you've got a start, a middle, and an end on here. So what happened, what day you went, what happened, and what you expect. Is everyone okay with that section?
Yes.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
So fantastic, thank you. So paragraphing skills. So what actually makes a good introduction? Now, when the introduction is something that will make or break the interest of your reader. So sometimes I'll open a book or I'll start looking at a newspaper article and think, no, this is boring. I don't want to read this. It's going on and on. It's not got any interesting things in it. So otherwise, sometimes I'll pick something up. I'll start reading an article or a letter or something, and I'll be like, oh, this is interesting. Let's see what happens. So a good introduction will actually grab the reader's interest. So sometimes you can do this by using a quote, an interesting fact. Sometimes you can use a question. Now, do you remember those pieces of homework, and you've seen it a few times now, where they talk about the Zumba classes, and they start off with, do you want to get fit? So they start off with a question, don't they? And that grabs your attention. And then you don't say ever, this is about, or I am going to be talking about, because that's boring. Oh, okay, you're telling me, you've got to introduce it in a different way. So make sure you give background information about the topic you're talking about, and it has to be an outline. Don't give the full information in the first paragraph within the introduction. It's just an overview. So I will be start it off and then just point out what things you're going to be looking at or covering within your overview in your introduction. And then you can rephrase the question. So, for example, sometimes, for a lot of you who have been on with me for the healthcare courses, I'll give you a set of questions that you need to do for your assignments. And within those, you've got certain criteria. You know, this is the question. And you can actually start the paragraph by rephrasing that question and rewording it slightly and introduce it into the actual answer itself. So that helps you start off, and it's a good way to start off an introduction. So paragraphing skills, again, on here. So how do we hook the reader? So to make our text interesting, we use separate techniques to hook our readers. So we're going to be looking at a article about the importance of vaccinating dogs against disease, and we're going to be starting off. So this is how we would start off with our introductory paragraph. So we start off with it saying the RSPCA says that not vaccinating your dogs can be a form of pet cruelty. So you're like, oh, it's a quote, And also it's getting your emotions involved, because you don't want to be cruel to your pet if you have one. Then you get a fact. So 20% of dogs in the UK are not vaccinated against disease. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Then you've got a rhetorical question like, do you want to be responsible for your dog infecting others? And you're like, it makes you think that, do you want to be responsible, or do you want to be a nice, kind pet owner? And then it finishes off with an anecdote. So it gives you a story about a lovely pet that was loved by the family that owned it, and it became seriously ill because the owners forgot to keep up with his vaccinations. And even though the pet was so loved, it still got these diseases. And do you want to be like that? You love your dog, don't you? Do you want to be like that? So an anecdote really is like a story about something that happened to someone else. And they're saying, you don't want to be in the same situation, do you? So if this was in paragraph form, it would be quite interesting, and it would make me actually want to read on and find out more information. And then again, the second video, please go on and have a listen to that when you've got a few minutes. It's all on Moodle. So paragraphing skills, again, so what makes a good paragraph? So what is it that actually makes a good paragraph when we look at it? So when you're doing paragraphs, rather than having 5, 6 different ideas, all being different ideas within it and all in one place, it can be very confusing because your reader won't know exactly what you're talking about. So your paragraph should relate to one single main idea. So even if you have one sentence that is off topic, it can actually confuse the reader. You're like, what are they talking about? So you could be talking about something else and you introduce something different into it, and it throws your reader off. So a paragraph should have a unity. It should be together. It should be quite concise, and it should be clear that it's talking about one idea and everything within that paragraph relates to it. The sentences should fit together logically, and this, again, like I said, makes it coherent, and it makes all the details feel connected. And again, the paragraph should be developed so that the amount of detail that you're putting in there are enough for someone to understand what you're talking about. So you're not giving too little detail, or you're not going off into reams and reams of information when you could just do it in 2 sentences. So make sure that it's just got the right amount of detail that will help you discuss what you're talking about. So we've got an example here of what a paragraph should look like. So we've got the topic within the paragraph. It can be given in the first sentence, but that's not necessarily always true. It can be done in the second sentence as well. But the first paragraph will always give you the main idea. The first sentence normally will give you a main idea of what's going to happen within the paragraph. You'll have supporting sentences that will give you evidence, and then you'll have an ending to the paragraph. So it might repeat what the topic was about and so on, but it will give you an idea of what you've talked about, like a conclusion. And then you should always, this is a good idea, is whenever you're doing multiple paragraphs on multiple pieces of work, make sure that you leave a line between your paragraphs. So don't start your next paragraph straight on the next line. Leave a gap. Skip one line and then go forward. So let's read this. In my spare time, I like to go running. So that's a topic sentence. It's about the person's spare time and that they like to go running. And now they've got supporting sentences. It's a good hobby for lots of reasons. You burn calories and keep fit. If you're sociable, you can join a club and run with others. You can run whenever you like. And the only thing you need is a decent pair of trainers. And then the ending sentence is, running is an ideal hobby. And that's it. So nice and simple. It's got all the information in there. And it shows how simply you can do it. So we're going to go on here now, and we've got 2 paragraphs, and we've got 1 sentence in each paragraph that doesn't belong there. So paragraph 1. Jamal headed to ECIT, so ECIT for a marketing communication certificate, which was where he got his first real taste of internet marketing. He was hooked. He set up his own marketing firm in 2017. While there, he developed his love of writing, developed while studying his history degree, his love of communicating with people and his love of organizing, and to put it to very good use in the world of online marketing. So what's out of place here? In this first paragraph, what is out of place? Which sentence isn't right?
So is it the highlighted one?
It is, yes. And also, did you notice the way I changed my voice to do it? Because it was like, it's a bit of a different question, isn't it? So you sometimes when you're reading it, even you will change the way you're reading it. So it's got nothing to do with any of this. We could take all of that out and it's just he was hooked. He set up his own marketing firm in 2017. But we're talking about how he's getting his certificate. We're talking about how he developed his passion. We're not talking about how he's started his own firm. Now, paragraph 2, and you know it's going to be the same thing again. It will be this section here. So when I read through it, you'll see that it doesn't make sense with that there. So when he graduated, he got a job in internet marketing. Here he met one of his mentors, Laurent Dupre. Laurent drove to work in a Bugatti. They worked together rolling out an online marketing plan and created a new website. Unfortunately, the business went under in 2008 financial crash, just days before the website was to go live. However, it was an invaluable experience for Jamal. So we know that we don't need to know what car Laurent drove. It's got no relevance to this paragraph at all. So you can see there that that makes no sense. It doesn't need to be there. Now, coherence. So we've got to make sure that our paragraphs are actually coherent. So to do this, we can write them in a logical order. So we start off with the order of importance. Or if you've been somewhere and you're complaining about something, you've got a complaint letter like we looked at earlier, you start off with a chronological order. So that is a time-wise order, what time-wise, what happened first. So you connect your sentences, make sure you use the right connectives. You can use things like after, finally, therefore, later, because, next, any of these. And then we've got some examples here. So chronological order was I started the business from a trading unit in 1990. So these are just separate sentences now. In 1995, I took a lease on premises just outside the city centre. In 2000, I was running 6 body workshops across the northwest. I plan to open 3 more next year. But now, if we use it with connectives, it does actually make it more interesting. So you go, I started the business from a trading unit in 1990. Then I took a lease on premises just outside the city centre in 1995. By 2000, I had 6 body workshops across the northwest. Next, I will open 3 more next year. So there are a couple of changes I would make if I was going to be writing this. I changed this full stop to a comma. And again, I would do that. Another comma there. And I would keep that as a, I would change that into there. So it just makes more sense. We don't need those full stops there because it's all one big complex sentence that is going on. So coherence again, so with chronological order, we're doing it in which order something happened or what time something happened. So we're going to read this, it's not in a chronological order here, but the second one is. So the first one where it says the annual training day will start at 9 a.m. on 2 August at Oaks Training Centre. On the 2 August or 2nd of August, the management team will meet at 8 a.m. in the lobby. All staff attending must be at the centre by 8:45. Email invitations to the annual training day will be sent out on the 15th of July. The personal department will confirm numbers by 28th of July, and we have to let the training centre know numbers by the close of play 30th of August. Now, this is quite confusing. If I got this, I'd be like, trying to get a piece of paper and jot things down because everything's out of order. You got 9 a.m., then you got 8 a.m., then you got 8:45, then you got different dates, 15th of July, 28th of July, 30th of August, so it's confusing. But to put in a good order, in the order that is going to be happening, so email invitations to the annual training day will be sent out on the 15th of July. The personnel department will confirm numbers by 28th of July. So they sent out by 15 and they'll confirm it by then. We have to let the training centre know numbers by close of play by 30th. So you've got all the dates out of the way now, and now you're starting on the timing. So on the 2nd of August, the management team will meet at 8 a.m. in the lobby. All staff attending must be at the centre by 8:45. The annual training day will start at 9 a.m. on the 2nd of August at Oaks Training Centre. So when I was reading it, the first section felt really confusing to me because you've got so many odd numbers and so many different dates and everything is just out of order. But when it's ordered into the way it's going to be happening, it gives you a good, clear understanding of what's happening. You're not having to scramble around trying to write pieces of information on pieces of paper. It's clear, it's concise, and it gives you the information very simply. And then you'll have something called organizational markers. So with these, when you're writing your paragraphs, to make sure that they can hear it, you're going to be connecting your sentences. So you're going to have words like after, finally, soon, then, next, one here. So we've got one that just is basic, simple. A year ago, we invented a new time-saving way to make tin food. And it just goes through little simple sentences that are not connected. But then we would change it into a year ago, we invented a new time-saving way to make tinned food. It's completely revolutionary. Soon, one of the connectors, lots of manufacturers, let's highlight that, wanted to use that idea. However, we got there. Therefore, consequently, so we've got all these connectors here that have made the information flow a lot better. So some of the organizational marks you can use, and these help you on different things. So to show time, to have an effect, to persuade, or to add a point, these are different ones. So to show your time, you do firstly or secondly, so far, consequently, meanwhile, eventually, once, next, then, subsequently, at length, simultaneously. So all of these will help to show the time of something in some sort of order. This is to show a cause or an effect. So thus, whenever, as long, accordingly, until, so, how, hence, consequently, subsequently, as a result, because. So you're saying something and you're saying because of this, this happened. So you say subsequently and you've joined two sentences together to show that because this happened, this was the effect of it. That was the cause of it. And then to persuade. Certainly, clearly, evidently, naturally, obviously, and surely. And then finally, to add a point, in addition, what is more, as well as, furthermore, and again. So these are some markers that you will be familiar with. And there are some to emphasize, to contrast, to emphasize, to make sure you highlight a certain point, an important point. To compare ideas and opinions, contrast and similarity, and conditional situations to show that there is something dependent happening because of something else. So to emphasize are words like in particular, specifically, notably, in fact, indeed, more importantly, and moreover. Comparison, be like conversely, in contrast, nevertheless, on the other hand. Similarity is likewise, similarly, or in other words. And conditional is even if, in case, provided that, or providing this, unless, and whether we do this or whether or not. So we're going to, this will help you to introduce examples in your IDRA as well. Sometimes you'll want to answer something and you'll see that, oh, I've only got, I should really make this quite complex and detailed. I want more information in it. But the information that I already have is quite basic. So all of these markers will actually help you to put examples in, and it'll help you to make your work a little bit more interesting, and also to bulk it out so that you've got more detail, you've got more information written there. So things like, for example, for instance, specifically to demonstrate, such as, and then you can put down an example of what you're talking about. Is the few points that we've just gone over, is everyone okay on those?
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay.
I'm hoping I've not put you all to sleep with all the talking I've done.
No.
No, that's okay.
So, Ben, Vivian, Lydia, Clifford, can you still hear me, class?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Yes. I can hear you. Hearing you. Yes. Not now.
No, can't hear now.
I can't hear you, please.
I'm hoping that you can still hear me. I'm not getting any replies.
Oh, I can hear
Okay
now.
We've only got a few minutes left.
It's okay now.
When you're doing your paragraphs in detail, just make sure that you give enough detail in it. Have facts or statistics, support your main idea. Give clear, detailed information on your subject. Use descriptive words. Add examples. Maybe even put in a contrast in to show different ideas. Compare it to something, so a simile or a metaphor. Show the cause and effect of how one thing will cause another, and then use details. Then we've got the paragraphing skills, the conclusion on this. So a good conclusion on here, just reinforce your ideas. So don't be repetitive, but just reinforce what you've said. Refer to your introduction, but it's a good opportunity to assess what you've said and address the question and just say, this is what I was talking about. And only include certain points that you think are important. And then a really good conclusion will have a striking ending, or it will have compelling language, especially if you're using in persuasive text. So we've got these here, paragraphing skills. So overall, we're going to see which one is better. Overall, I think we should all do our bit for the planet. It's our duty to look after it for future generations. Don't you agree? A better one is global warming is something that should concern everyone. I've shown that we can make small changes that will reduce our personal carbon footprints. Using public transport, saving water and energy will help. We can also be proactive by doing things to offset our carbon footprint, being a conscious consumer and persuading family and friends to do the same. Global warming can be slowed if we all do our bit. So again, make sure that you're writing coherently and effectively. So have effective writing, have a clear purpose. Make sure you've got a definite point on there. Make sure you've got specific information and that it's all clearly connected and arranged. And again, when we're analysing text, we're just going to look at what you should be looking at when you're analysing text. So they have lots of elements with it. Make sure you summarise the task and set it out to purpose. Back up your opening statement that have definite points in it. Make sure you use appropriate correct vocabulary, and make sure that it's error-free and that your sentences are correct. It's got good spacing and it's got the good amount of information that it needs in without any grammatical mistakes or spelling mistakes. Then make sure that you add in specific information. You can also use emphatic language, so a language that makes people feel something, so angry, happy, sad, disgusted, any of those. So make sure that you've got a good emphasis on emphatic language in here. Let it be organized in a clear structure, and make sure that you connect your first line of your paragraph to your, make sure that you actually, it's cohesion, so that it's actually connecting to what you were talking about. And then don't be repetitive. Don't use redundant language. Don't use words you don't need in there. Just keep it nice and clear. So can you all hear me still?
Yes.
Yes.
Guessing we have a bit of an audio issue on here. So as we're finishing off now, I'm just going to go through these and I'll actually give you the answers. So when you listen to the recording later, it'll be a little bit easier for you. So what is the logical order? I can't speak today. What is the logical order of a text? So is it A, a text must have clear introduction, B, a text needs plenty of appropriate detail, C, a beginning, a middle, and an end, or D, a text must have a strong conclusion? It is, in fact, C.
Yeah.
Over here. Number 2. A good introduction should tell the reader about what the text will be about, include a rhetorical question, give plenty of details that support your writing, or make your opinion clear. It should, in fact, be A.
C.
Number 3. A topic sentence in a paragraph is always first, gives detail and evidence, closes the paragraph, or gives the main idea of the paragraph. Now, a topic sentence can actually be first, and normally on normal basis it is first. Overall, it actually gives you the main idea of the sentence, of what the paragraph is about, regardless if it's first or second. 2 more questions. And then ideas in a paragraph, again, for us here, should be all relate to one idea, should have enough detail. C, all of them are correct, or D. Now this one is a bit of a tricky one because there are 2 points to this. They should all relate to one idea and they should fit logically together. And then the last question. What is a concluding paragraph? So it's the last paragraph where you can include new ideas. Last paragraph where you give your opinion. Paragraph where you give details and evidence, or the last paragraph where you reinforce your ideas. So concluding paragraph is actually where you reinforce the ideas you were talking about. Brilliant. Let's go on to the homework activity here. So on this, all I would like you to do is about logical order in paragraphs. I'd like you to go through here. There are a few arguments that you need to be making. So something like you're going to plan an article and you're going to include these points in. So on here, you don't need to write your answers in full. I just want you to put down what you're going to say in your introduction. So your middle, your beginning, your introduction, your middle, and your end. So use your bullet points to outline your arguments. I'm not looking for a full-blown sentences. Just tell me what points you'll talk about first, and it follows on in the same aspect over here.